Hi, I'm Dr. Jennifer Watson, and I am the Literacy Coordinator for the South Central Comprehensive Center at the University of Oklahoma. I was also the co-chair of the Oklahoma Academic Standards for English Language Arts writing team. Today I want to talk a little bit with you about the motivations that drove our writing team members as they drafted and crafted Standard 6 research. We thought a lot about learning when we talked about Standard 6. You know, all species seem to have a way of learning. Dogs sniff a lot. Cats watch. Bats and whales, they listen for that sonar echo to guide them around. But humans ask questions. Little learners are really very knowledgeable about those famous journalist questions before we even teach them in school. They're asking, who are you? What's that? When can I go? Where are we? And if you've ever been around a 3-year-old, you know it's always, how come? Or why? I think it shows us that we're researchers by nature. Humans may not have the best noses or the sharpest eyes, but our sense of inquiry is really endless. And those journalist questions are going to propel us through our lives, our personal lives, our academic lives, our professional lives. And so we know that as we mature in the real world, everybody, social scientists, authors, engineers, artists, they're all being driven by those same questions that they started asking in early childhood. The writers of Standard 6 said, you know what? Humankind has a lot at stake when they are trying to answer these really big questions. We need to teach sound methods of inquiry, and that was really the goal of crafting Standard 6. The writers of Standard 6 really wanted to make sure that those foundational components of research methodology were instilled in every Oklahoma high school graduate. They really come down to three, I'm going to call them pillars of knowledge, skills, competencies. And that first pillar that you'll see a lot of in Standard 6 is that, as we've been talking about, purposeful research begins with well-designed questions. We want to start our early learners, our primary grade learners, by just giving them lots of opportunities to ask questions about topics that interest them. But as they move on to intermediate grades, we want to start training them that even better questions can be formed if you have done some preliminary investigation about a topic. So the more you know about something, the better questions you're going to be able to ask. And then as our students go on to middle school and into high school, that next layer, that final layer of asking good questions is added on in classrooms. And that is that really viable research not only asks good questions, it poses a possible answer, or as we may call it in some of our other disciplines that engage in research, we have a hypothesis. And we're going to test that hypothesis to see if it's valid or not valid. When we take students through that continuum of good questioning and preliminary investigation and posing both a question and an answer, we know that they're on their way to being a strong researcher. The second big pillar of information that you'll find in Standard 6 is that to be really useful, research has to be grounded in both reliable and valid resources. So our students need to be able to know how to find reliable resources, and by reliable I mean they're dependable, they're trustworthy, they're accurate. We know them to be truthful, and we want to teach our students not only where to find those reliable sources of information, but how to differentiate between reliable and unreliable resources. We also want them to know what a valid source of information is, or a valid source of data. And by valid, I mean both, is it logical? Does it correspond to what we expect to see in the real world? And especially in scientific research, we want to make sure that data that we're citing, information that we're citing, is really measuring what it says it's measuring. For example, if one of our students wanted to do a study about what his classmates want to eat when they go to the cafeteria, he would want to take a sample of all the students in the school, both those who eat in the cafeteria and those who choose not to because they're not finding anything that they want. He wouldn't want to just interview only his friends, or only the people who are bringing their lunch to school, or only the people who are proclaimed vegetarians. He'd want to get a broad sampling so that he could truly measure what the students at school want to eat in the cafeteria. So reliable, valid, and the third piece of that is that students need to know how to cite this information using standard procedures that everyone recognizes so that other researchers can find that same information or that same data and continue their research. The last piece, the big pillar that we're teaching students through our research standard, is that you have to know how to take all of that information, summarize the relevant pieces, synthesize it so that other readers can make sense of it, draw conclusions that are meaningful to others so that inquiry into that topic can move forward. We know that our colleagues in the science classroom, the social studies classroom, the arts, other disciplines are working hard to teach these same research skills as they apply to the content in their body of study. But as you and I know, as language arts teachers, we own that teaching of research skills in the language arts classroom. I know you're doing a great job of teaching and preparing your students to be great researchers, both in school and in their careers, and I wish you well.